It's time for another edition of the Let's Go Ricky Roll podcast. I'm Bethel Duran, as always, joined by Ricky Romero, former big league pitcher. And normally, Ricky, let's see, we went to Bora Bora, Costa Rica, but quarantine, we're still stuck at home. But luckily for you, the beaches are open, right? You're able to take the kids to get some water?
Yeah, they've been open. We've only been once. Obviously, did the proper things, practice all the stuff that they're preaching us to do. Boys had fun. It's been good. Just kind of looking forward to little things here and there opening up and hopefully getting back to a bit of a social life.
Yeah, a bit of a social life. Things are starting to open up here in Southern California. But today we're going to go to the middle of the country, Texas. We're going to meet one of your former teammates, a guy that you said since last year when we started the podcast, you're like, we got to get him on. We got to get him on. Vernon Wells. What did he mean to you in your career?
Oh, man, he probably doesn't even know it, but when I was a rookie, obviously the pitching staff had Roy Halladay, the hitters, position players had Vernon Wells to look up to, but I think I looked up to him as well just because he was a pro's pro, man, like just carried himself the right way. And like I said, he probably doesn't even know it, but it's a guy that I really admired. When I was going through my contract stuff, he was one of the guys that actually was helping me and I was talking to, and I could be open about it. And, because he went through similar things. And we obviously shared the same agency at the time. And, it's just a guy that, like I said, I looked up to and I admired. Like I said, pro's pro, man, like just carried himself the right way. And, I think that's the one thing they always say, just be a professional about things and stuff like that. And I think he, at times he kind of kept me in check in that way.
And now let's bring him on. Former teammate with Ricky at Toronto Blue Jays, played Major League Baseball, co-owner of Jack Winery in Napa, joined us now from Texas. Vernon Wells, you hear Ricky say that about you, you're kind of looking around like, really?
I remember conversations we would have. I remember the contract during those negotiations, and Ricky coming to me and freaking out about, man, they're offering me this, and what should I do? And like, hey, just chill, man. Like you're in a win-win situation. Just be patient with it, and kind of going through the process of talking to each other almost every fifth day when it was about that time for him to go out on the mound and try to dominate an opposing team, and having conversations after a good start, having conversations after a bad start, of just trusting your stuff and just things like that, as you have relationships with guys, and it lasts.
He was always one of the guys. Like I remember after my first complete game, it was against the Texas Rangers, and a good friend of his was on that team, Michael Young, and he'd always after that point, he'd always walk by me and be like, "Hey, dude, you're nasty. Just remember that you're nasty." And I'd always just start laughing. He's like, "Trust it, just trust it," because you're young, you're still trying to kind of find your way in and out of the league, and you still kind of you're trying to fit in and stay there, and at times as a rookie you kind of doubt yourself, and he'd always just say that. He'd always just walk by me and be like, "Hey, just remember that, just you're nasty," and I'd be like, "All right."
You remember doing that, Vernon?
I do. Ricky was the type of person that you wanted to be there for. Humble kid coming up to the big leagues that's trying to make a name for himself, and the staff that had Roy Halladay on it. And for those of us who know Doc, knew that if the only time you really saw Doc is if he was coming from the weight room to go to the field. Like he was always working. And I'm sure as a starting pitcher, Ricky had a different relationship with him than some did, but when you have a rookie that comes up, and we're in the same, like you said, we're with the same agency, so we're kind of in that same family, and you want to look out for your boys, and we needed him, and we needed him to step up and be one of the guys that when we gave him the ball every fifth day, we had a chance to win, and he did that for us.
Yeah. Vernon,
Did you guys hear
journey.
that random noise? Did you guys hear that random noise in the background? I have a bathroom remodel going on behind me, so this is live TV. So it sounds weird, but it's really happening behind me.
Hey, we don't mess around, man. This goes all over the world. We got fans in the Blue Jay fans in London. We got Canada. We got Texas. But it's the real life, though, because if you're in quarantine, you got a bunch of stuff going on in the house. So we appreciate you making the effort.
Oh yeah, definitely.
No, and like he said, it was one of those things where I say it from day one. I mean, I was coming into a team that was full of veteran guys. So it's like, you're trying to find your place on the team. You're trying to, the first thing you hear is keep your ears open, keep your mouth shut type thing. And then next thing you know, as you know, Vernon, I'm put right next to BJ Ryan and Scott Downs in the locker room. And BJ is an intimidating guy, and like, very like, hey, this is by the book, like this is what we're going to do and stuff like that. And hey, man, my respect. And I think I learned at a very young age, or as a rookie, I learned right away, saying like, okay, I got to know when to speak, when not to speak. And I think that's why having you guys obviously go about it the right way helped me, because you guys were like, okay, he gets it. Now we can help him,
Right.
Yeah, and Vernon, for you,
being stuck in between BJ Ryan and Scott Downs, those are like two polar opposite personalities too. Like Scotty Downs was as laid back as they came. BJ Ryan was as intense as they came, and they both played different roles. Two lefties that played two completely different roles in our bullpen. So Ricky, you're kind of pulling. You saw one side that was laid back and one side that was maybe a little too into it. Man, I made a joke about BJ's head size one day, and he didn't talk to me for like a month and a half. So that's how intense BJ was.
Yeah, it's Ricky's been telling some of these stories, and it's like, yeah. But
I know Beto wanted to. Before we even get into anything else, like I know Beto wanted to get into the wine. Like, how did that come about for you, man? Like, I know post baseball, I've never really heard you talk about wine or anything like that. How, like, were you just like, this is a to kind of own a wine?
Being on the road and going to steakhouses and drinking good wine. When I was with Chris Inetta with the Angels, and we were both hurt at the time, we were at a steakhouse drinking wine, and probably after the second, third bottle, I don't know what it was, we said, let's make our own wine. And I got done playing before he did, and figured, we talked about it, let's do it. So we started and had our first vintage in 2012, and obviously going through the process of learning what it takes to actually produce a quality wine has been an education in its own right, and then trying to sell it and grow it at a rate where you can be successful, but still make a really quality product, which we have to this point.
That's crazy. So you just said, let's start winery.
On Drew Bledsoe. I saw the E60 on Drew Bledsoe and how big of a wine guy he is. Like, are you that involved in the wine? Like, are you like there, like, all right, like this, yes, no, like, are you that involved like the way he is, or you kind of just sit back and kind of they make it and use?
Yeah, so he has the luxury of being on the West Coast and being involved a little bit more. Chris and I we're as involved as we can be. We don't have the science major to understand the process that it takes to make that wine. But when it comes to the tastings and the direction that we want to go, and the quality of wine, the grapes that we're making our wine with, and the locations and things like that, when it comes to picking out the varietals, that's something that we're fully involved in. I actually have a property up in Napa that has Merlot grapes on it that taste as good as any cab grape that you can think of. So now the process is, do we want to make a Merlot, and then how much do we want to make? Because they're state grown grapes. That's my property. Ricky. I don't know if you remember, Ricky, but I used to walk around singing the song, "I Want to Be a Billionaire." Remember that song?
Yeah.
Yeah. People used to yell at me every time I sang it, but it's part of the process.
So the next podcast, we're going straight to Napa, Rick. We are moving the podcast to Napa. We have location. We're doing, forget baseball talk. We're going to just do a wine podcast. Why not? I mean, it's pretty cool. It's interesting because I was doing some research, and it's the name Jack comes from it's an acronym for the name of your kids, yours and Chris's kids' name. So you guys took the first letter of each one. But it's just to get involved. And it all happened because you guys were hurt a year with the Angels. And it's something that was a distraction for you, but you hear so many different people going to different avenues. And that's part of what I like about you, Vernon. Just, I don't know you, but just being around you a little bit when I cover the Angels was that you were always a guy who just seemed like baseball isn't your identity, when sports has been your whole identity your entire life. And Ricky and I, we've talked about this too. The transition from being a retired player to just being a civilian, that's hard. How hard was that for you?
It wasn't. I mean, I had kind of done everything possible in the game of baseball. I've been at the top of the game. I've been at the bottom of the game. I mean, I ran the gamut when it came to some really good Blue Jay years, some really bad Angel years, to some mediocre one Yankee years. Through that time, like playing, I knew I kind of reached the point to where I couldn't physically do what my mind wanted it to do anymore. And at that point, you're like, this is frustrating, because mentally, I still felt like I was a 25-year-old kid that can hit 30 and hit 300 and drive in 100, but physically my body just couldn't do that. So the one opportunity that I had a chance to kind of choose what my future was going to be, and my boys at the time were like 12 and 10. And I knew that it was time for me to be a dad. I lived my dream. And like you said, my identity wasn't in baseball. Like, I'm a believer, so my identity is in Christ. So it's like baseball gave me a platform to be able to bless so many people and be in the lives of so many different people and make relationships around the game and different things like that. But my identity was not in that. It was something that I was blessed to be able to do. And he gave me the ability to do it. And I went at it as hard and as far as I could, but when it was time to be done, it was time to be done, and then start the next chapter of my life. So I felt like that first chapter was good, and now it's time to build on that with my family and whatever we do outside of
it. I mean, that's pretty cool, man. And like I said, we were teammates during. From what I remember, when you got traded, I think we were in the middle of a winter tour. It was in the off season, and somebody mentioned to us, they're like, "Hey, we were about to go do an event," and it was like, "Hey, Vernon got traded," and it was like an instant. Everyone was like quiet. The whole bus was quiet. They were like, "Whoa, no way! Like, this is the guy that, has led this team and been a big part of this organization." How tough was it for you to like leave the city of Toronto when you heard you've been traded? Because you pretty much grew up there from high school all the way, to whenever you got traded in 2000 and whatever.
Yeah, that was 2000. That was after 2010 I got traded. But yeah, I remember making that decision. Well, Alex and Anthopoulos and I had conversations about, like, he had called me a month before I actually got traded and was kind of feeling me out without saying what he was trying to do, but I knew exactly what he was trying to do. So we went through lists of teams, and I'm like, well, if I'm going to go here, I don't want to play for that team. Or if I'm going to go there, blah, blah, blah. Knowing full well that it was just like he was trying to basically take teams off the board that had inquired about me at the time. So he called me, and I was actually at a Mavericks-Lakers game here in Dallas, and he said, "We got a trade for you, worked out for you with the Angels. It's up to you if you want to take it." And we kind of just talked about what the future of the team was going to be in the direction that he wanted to go. And Alex and I had always had those open conversations, because if we're going to bring in guys, what do you think about this guy or manager or whatever that may be? So at that point, making phone calls to guys after that was the hardest thing, just because, like you said, Rick, that was my home. Like, that was my second home. I got drafted when I was 18, left when I was 31 or whatever. So that was partly the most difficult time and transition when it came to baseball, because that's all I knew. And at that point, you realize how comfort really is a big thing when it comes to the game.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times, you know, I mean, I'm not saying, you know, maybe Anaheim, obviously you come to California, it's awesome, you know, weather all the time. And but, you know, as they say, sometimes the grass isn't always greener on the other side, you know, and I'm not saying it was or it wasn't, but, you know, when you've known one place your whole career, I can see how it can be tough. Shoot, I only spent 4+ years in the big leagues, 10 with the organization. And when I got released, it was like, I felt like it was the end of the world, you know, but then you walk into, when I walked into the Giants clubhouse, you're like, okay, this is a business. This is just the way it is. You know, this is like, it's just like guys come, guys go. And it's just the way it is. You know, it's nobody really has time. You can't sit there and pout because it's like, all right, I got to strap it on with this team now.
Oh yeah, no doubt about it. And Ricky, you know this about me. It's good or bad. Like, you never look back and think, man, I should have made a different decision. Like, we go through life, and it's you learn from every decision that you make. So you make decisions in the moment, and if everything works out, great. If everything doesn't work out, great. But there's always a learning lesson in any of it. So I'm glad I went through it. I'm glad I went through the struggles. You kind of learn a lot more about yourself when you go through struggles than you do when everything is going well. So that's not only in baseball, but that's in life. So it wasn't. I wish I could have performed better. I wish I could have been younger when I was with the Angels to show what I was capable of doing. But at that time, Mike Trout was coming, so it really didn't matter what the heck I was going to do, because he was going to take my spot anyways.
That's just crazy, man. It was you. I mean, for me, you were probably one of the best center fielders that I ever played with, you know. And then you go to Anaheim, and it's you, Mike Trout, and Torrey Hunter, you know. And it's like, holy smokes, that's like a dream outfield, you know. I mean, so many Gold Gloves, and then the future of baseball is playing center field. Like, that was crazy to kind of see that, you know. And you got to see a young Mike Trout, you know, before, like, I mean, he already had made a bit of a name for himself, but like, obviously now it's like he is the face of baseball. Like, how was it like seeing him grow into this like superstar?
It was one of the most amazing things I had ever been a part of. Like, he came to the big leagues, like he got called up the first time and struggled in 11. And then the next time he got to the big leagues, he wasn't going to leave. And every day you would think, well, he can't do anything else to impress me. And he'd do something again the next day. It's like, whoa. So, yeah, it's playing left field, Trout's playing center, Torrey's playing right. And just the conversations we would have about just the game, like, because he's a kid. And we would talk about situations. Hey, if the ball's hit here, what are you going to do? And understanding. He's like, man, we never really talked about this stuff in the minor leagues. It was like, and Torrey and I were like, man, you need to know exactly what's going to happen before the ball's hit. Have everything already played out in your mind, so you're prepared for everything. So that was our conversation. And then he kind of got to the point where we go to New York later on in the season, and him being a Jersey kid, the pull of media and just trying to be pulled in every direction. And I remember him coming to me and kind of saying, man, this is nuts. Like, what do I do? Like, do I say no? I said, Mike, or I call him Trout at that point, but I don't know. Probably should have called him Mr. Trout now that I look at it. But, he was, I said, listen, the way you handle this is going to kind of define who you are from this point on. Because he was a humble kid and still is the same humble individual, even though he's accomplished more than most people in this game have ever accomplished. He's still the same person as he was when he first got to the big leagues. And that's what I love most about him, is that he's a freak when it comes to what he does on the baseball field, but he's a great dude.
But I think that the coolest thing about it is that to have two mentors like that, usually you have one mentor, you know, or somebody you look up to have two mentors playing alongside you, Gold Glove, you know, gifted guys. Like, that must have been cool for him. I mean, like, what a way to be able to come into the league and just be like, bam, like these guys are going to be able to help me. And for you, it shows the professionalism that you guys showed too, obviously, because not every superstar takes you under their wing. Let's be honest. But like the fact that you guys took them under your wing, I mean, speaks volumes of, you know, the type of people that you guys are. I mean, I only had conversations with Torrey, you know, playing against him, and he always seemed like a cool dude. But everything I've heard, it's like he's a first-class human being too.
Oh yeah, he is, no doubt. Like the personality, he loves everybody, unless you cross him. And if you cross him, that hood will come out of him. That Arkansas hood will come out of him, and I've seen
Torrey
it.
Honey.
And that's not a part of Torrey you want to see. So yes, I mean, there's a couple stories of seeing it come out. And I'm like, whoa, you do not want to get in Torrey's way when that happens.
Yeah, I was covering that team for ESPN at that time, and I remember, you know, Torrey grabbed Trout his first real season, was like, okay, your locker is going to be my mine. Like, you guys put him on that side, like where the outfielders would be. And Torrey would do his media session first, and like Trout would stand there, Rick, and watch and listen to what Torrey was saying. And then when Torrey moved on, I remember doing an interview with Mike, and all of a sudden I'm like, is this Mike Trout talking or is it Torrey Hunter? It's like the similarities, but that mentorship, and that's something that guys have come on the podcast before, Vernon, have talked about, how the mentorship from a veteran guy could be really good or it could be salty, and it's just either way. But you always struck me as a guy who was like, you worked in silence, but at the same time, if somebody was there, you made sure you put an arm around them. I think that's something that Ricky always said about you. Why is that important, and was that important for you?
Well, I think for me, like, we kind of talked about before, like the game didn't find me. Like my biggest thing was the relationships that you're able to form. You get to know guys at a different level you should get to know guys at a different level because you're with them every day. You're with them just as much as you're with your family, if not more. So they need to become a family. And in my time playing, I tried to care more about the guys around me than I did about myself. So, if it seemed like something was going wrong with them or they were off in some way, I wanted to be the one that tried to reach out, whether they wanted to reciprocate that or not, and be open and talk about things. That's whatever. But for me, that's what stuck out for me as far as the game was: be someone who's approachable, be someone who's concerned about others more than themselves, and build relationships. And I'm not going to say I was like that every day, but I tried to be like that most days.
Yeah, your teammates speak well of you.
Well, and I was going to say, but though, you definitely saw that, though. You saw that, and you know, whether in the game of baseball, there's ups, there's downs. Everyone knows that, and I think, like I said, Vernon always was pretty even. Like he never got too high, he never got too low. He was the same guy, and I know there's pressure that comes with, you know, obviously. I'm speaking for experience, you know, of signing a contract, and then you're kind of trying to live up to it and trying to, you know, you're putting pressure on yourself, but you're also going out there. I'm good. Like it's going to happen. It's going to turn around, this and that. And how much pressure for you, Vernon, did you feel, you know, after all that stuff happened, you know, where you sign a contract and, you know, you're established now, and sometimes, you know, in the game of baseball, things don't go the way you want them to go.
Yeah. Man, those are kind of roller coaster times. Like you try to battle the urge to try to do more because of the contract that you signed, even though you signed the contract based off of past performance. So you're trying to fight it on both sides and trying to prove that you're worth that. But even when I signed the contract at the press conference, they're like, "Are you worth this?" I'm like, "No, I'm not worth this. No one's worth this amount of money, but this is what the market bears." So you have to understand that process. And that's the nature of the business. It's entertainment, and people are going to pay for that and pay market value for that, or they go someplace else. So it was battling that, and then you kind of come to an understanding of like, I'm going to do everything I can to prepare for each and every day, and whatever happens, happens. Because some stuff is out of your control. You can go out here 4-line drives, and you go for 4, and people are like, "You suck." And I was like, "Well, I did everything I could, but I just wasn't successful. I hit the ball at the people that have been playing at the same position for 100 and some odd years. Really, it's just stupid hitting. But I can't place the ball where I want to, so it's just yeah, I suck. And it's funny just having conversations with fans during games and stuff. They're like, oh, you suck. I was like, you got to come up with something better than that, because I've heard that enough. Say something that's going to make me laugh, and then we can move on, and I can laugh, you can laugh. So, but that's what I love about Yankee Stadium. Like Yankee Stadium, old Yankee Stadium, and then new Yankee Stadium got into it towards the end, but that bleacher section was the best. Like,
yeah,
oh man, I love that place. Like they would say stuff that should not be said in public. I had the whole bleacher section chanting a-hole at me, like the entire section. I mean, and that's a lot of people, and it's really loud, and it was awesome.
What do you do? Like, do you turn around? Do you acknowledge them? Those creatures out there in right field?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. You got to have fun with it. Like they seem to feast on weakness. And I think for some reason they have this innate ability to be able to sense weakness. Like if you don't acknowledge them, they're like, we know you hear us, and we will get louder. I'm like, so I'd wave to them, and they start talking trash, and I'd turn around and put my glove like behind my butt, like I'm talking out of my rear end to them, and they would lose their minds. And it was awesome. And at the end of the day, at the end of the game, they're like, hey, Vernon, we'll see you tomorrow. I'm like, see you, fellas. And we'll get right back at it the next day.
Hey, if you were to get a hit or do something big, would you turn around like between innings and look at them?
No, because they were probably booing at whoever gave up the hit or didn't make a play or whatever. So they were fully in tune to what was going on, and that was the coolest thing about playing Yankee Stadium and then being a Yankee. Is I had always admired the Yankees from even my AAA days. Like there's something was different about that organization, and then finally getting a chance to play there my last year, it was very surreal for me, because I've always thought they were different, and putting on the pinstripes was different. Like it was a different expectation. It was what comes with this uniform is tradition. What comes with this uniform is winning, and it doesn't matter who has it on. That's their expectation. And if as an organization you are able to establish that, man, there's no feeling like it. So, and then getting a chance to be a part of the roll call as opposed to being chanted and being told that my mother hates me and things like that, or I even suck in the video games, or there's a full gamut of things I heard from Yankee fans.
You suck in the video games. Damn.
Yeah. I know. I was like, why you got to go to video games? But yeah, it depended on the year. Like, what year are we talking about here? Like, we're talking about 07? Yeah, I probably sucked in 07. Well, what about 06? What about that game? I was probably really good in that game. Like, yeah, you're probably good in that game. So I was like, I got
you. You would throw balls to the sometimes too, right?
Man. It's funny. I just saw that article. So we were in Cleveland one day, and it was when Cleveland wasn't very good, so there weren't that many people in the stands, and it was probably raining and cold. And I had this one guy just above me, just he wouldn't shut up. I'm like, oh my gosh, and he wasn't being funny, and he was just yelling, "You suck" all the time, over and over again. I'm like, forget it. So at the end of an inning, I come in, I was like, guys, I need a ball and I need a pin. So they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, just give me a ball and a pen. I'm like, so I write on the ball, I think it was, "Dear Mr. Dork, and I don't come to your job while you're pumping gas and yell at you. Please shut your mouth and enjoy the game," and signed it. So I take it out the next half inning, and I throw him the ball, and he's celebrating. I'm like, no, read it. And he reads it. He was reading it, and looks at me, and his friends are reading at the same time. And they just all die laughing. And then it ends up in the paper the next day. I'm like, seriously? Like this is like between me and you, and now it's national news. Like, frick.
And that's the stuff though. The outfielders here, like Ricky, the pitchers, they're locked in, they're in the zone. JP's catching, he's talking to everybody in the world. But the outfielders, you're the ones closest to the fans, and you hear all kinds of stuff. Like, and now with Google and research, people can find out everything about you. And you got to have that right attitude. As you said it, those Yankee fans, they feast on weakness. And but overall, people know everything about you. Isn't that kind of a little scary too?
Yeah, I mean, you get used to it. Like, yeah, I mean, people knew my kids' names. People knew my wife's name. Like, it was. Is there a white screen over my face? Is that me? Y'all see that?
Oh, yeah, we're good.
Yeah. Now you can see my big nose again.
The fan from Cleveland got you.
So yeah, none of that was never an issue. Just because, like you said, like the information at everybody's fingertips. Like it's even worse now. Like when I first came in, a lot of social media stuff wasn't around. It was just becoming to get big, and now it's people will find you. People will say anything and everything they want about you. It's just like it's a completely different world now.
Yeah, it's a different world. Different from 1997 when you got drafted. Now, Vernon, you were drafted 5th overall, correct?
Correct.
You had a scholarship offer to go to Texas as a receiver?
I was going to play football. I didn't know what position. Like I played quarterback in high school, but I wanted to play receiver. But I probably would end up playing like the safety position or something like that.
How close were you to saying, I'm going to Texas?
Not very. Like, I mean, my senior year of baseball comes around and whatever, have a good senior year. And then I start getting phone calls from teams from like 15 on down. And then this is like a week before the draft. So start off with the Rockies at like 15 and then all the way down to the Blue Jays at 5. And at that point they came in and like, we want to take you. And it's like, great. And the negotiation lasted probably about 2 minutes. So we had a pre-draft deal done, and there was no flying in New York. It was a phone call sitting in my living room in Arlington. So it was different times than it is now.
And Vernon, your pops played in the CFL, right?
He did.
What team did he play for?
He played for Calgary. Yeah, he was in Calgary for I think 2 years, and went to camp with the Chiefs as a receiver. Got hurt, and then I was born shortly thereafter, so I ruined his football career.
But his artistic career, as some of the ball players know, is crazy. You need to see some of these paintings, Beto. It's insane. I mean,
which is
the old Texas. And you'd walk into the Rangers clubhouse, the visiting clubhouse, and there was all his paintings everywhere. And
actually, we got some of those. If John will pull it up, Vernon Wells Senior's artwork, and it's been commissioned and all over the place. And you see some of these things, and like this is just crazy. Some of the stuff that he's done, Vernon.
Yeah, that was my first full season. My dad was really excited. Obviously, I drove in 100 runs, so he decided to make a picture of it. And then, Matt Kemp, he was a good one. He was scary. Like, he was scary good.
Matt Kemp?
Almost Trout good, but not as close.
Yeah. Vernon, go ahead, Rick.
Go ahead.
No, so Vernon, you get drafted. You're in high school. So Texas was like, yeah, maybe I'll go there, but not really. You're a baseball guy. When did you realize, you know what? I'm different from everybody else? Like, at what age were you like, I'm just that guy?
You know what? It's funny. Like, I talked to my dad about this. I never paid attention to it. Like, my dad was never one to like overly praise things. Like, he was just, I guess, kind of like me when it comes to those things. Like, we just thought, like, we were playing on the best summer team in the nation. Like, we think we played 80 games in my summer after my junior year, and we lost like 3 games. Like, and I was playing on a really good team, hit 500 for the summer. And I'm just like, well, I really enjoy doing this, but I can't wait for football season. So football was my number one passion. And it was just a matter of which one is the smarter choice. And obviously when it comes to what your body's going to feel like after you're done playing and however long that time is, baseball became my choice. I love baseball. It's just a different passion than it was than football. Football is just, it's one of those things that I love even coaching to this day, because you start to tap into some things that will kind of, I'm not going to say define you as a man, but kind of helps you get to a point where you can get to that frustration factor and get it out, and it's legal in football. You do some of that stuff in baseball, you're going to get suspended and fined, but you do it in football, it's all legal. I love it.
I was going to say, so as you make your journey as a top draft pick, how long did it take you to get from drafted to the big leagues? How long did it take you to get your first call up?
So I got drafted in 97 and got to the big leagues in 99.
99.
So I got there quick. Yeah. So like, it was nuts. Like 99 was the craziest year of my career. So I get done playing in Hagerstown in 98. Then I went to Australian Fall League after Instructs of 98. Come back home for a week after Australia, go to big league camp, and then start in Dunedin, play the first half of the season in Dunedin in high A, then go to Knoxville AA for a month, get called up to AAA in Syracuse for a month, and then get called up to the big leagues. And then after that, went to the Fall League. So I didn't stop playing baseball for well over a year. No, 2 years actually. So I was exhausted after that point. I remember being in the Fall League and I was crushing balls and they were hitting the fence because I just didn't have any more in me. So I led the league in doubles in the Fall League because I hit more homers. But it was a fun year. It was a crazy year. My wife now, my girlfriend at the time, she moved me from Dunedin to Knoxville, from Knoxville to Syracuse, and from Syracuse to Toronto. So she's been through the thick of it with me.
You get called up 20 years old?
Yeah, 20. It was 20. They threw me right in a 2 spot, like, all right, let's do this. And my manager at the time was Jim Fergosi, who's since passed, but it was funny. Yeah. So my first 2 games, I didn't get a hit. And then a reporter comes to me and says, well, your manager says that this stage may be too big for you. I was like, okay, whatever. And the next game I go 2 for 3, scored game-winning run. And then the reporter comes to me and says, man, your manager says you're going to be something else. I'm like, so that's baseball for you.
Who would you credit, like, as a rookie, who would you credit as like being a mentor to you that kind of took you under that wing of like showing you the ropes?
Yeah. So early on, like it was rough because I was trying to break into an outfield that had Jose Cruz Jr., that had Shannon Stewart, Sean Green, Raul Mondesi. Like there was some ruffled feathers when I got to the big leagues because Jose Cruz Jr. was boys with everybody. He was close with Delgado, close with Greeny. Like it was kind of like I was stepping on some toes in a way, being this 20-year-old kid. Crizzy had got sent back to AAA, so it was uncomfortable there for a little bit because I was kind of the one who shouldn't be there and Crizzy should be there. So that's when I kind of realized kind of what you said, Ricky, was like, I'm going to keep my mouth shut. I'm going to go sit on the inside seat on the bus. And please pray that another young guy comes and sits next to me on the bus because I don't want to get yelled at. And after that, after we kind of got through that period of those next couple of years, Delgado was one of the guys who I ended up hitting in front of him. So the conversations that we would have about pitchers, he'd ask me, what do you think in this situation? Like a reliever would be coming in to come face me. Because I was hitting after Frank Calinado, who was a lefty, and then Delgado, who was lefty behind me. So they bring in a righty, and it's like, so what are you thinking? I'm like, I don't know, probably thinking he's going to probably try to throw me a slider, depending on who it was. He's like, all right, if that's what you want to hit, then you wait for it and don't miss it. So those type of conversations and things we'd have, it was things that I would try to emulate and have those conversations with Alex Rios. But the difference with Alex Rios was Alex didn't even know who we were facing sometimes. Like I'm like, Alex, like, dude, do you know who this is? And he's like, no, who is it? I'm like, seriously? Like we've we've been doing this for like 80 something games already, and you don't even know who this is. He's like, no. What does he have? I'm like, well, he's got a fastball, he's got a slider, and a pretty good changeup. He's like, okay. And he'd go out and get 3 hits. I'm like, freak. Like, if he actually is, sometimes I want to slap Alex. And he was one of the strongest individuals I had ever been around. Like, he was lean and long. But I walked into the weight room one day and he grabbed like the 60s or 65s. And I'm thinking he's going to go to the bench and do some bench press. And he goes and sits back on an incline bench and just starts doing bicep curls with 65s. I'm like, so I was going in to work out, and I saw that and I went right back in the clubhouse because I was like, I'm not going to get embarrassed by this dude.
Were the worst. His handshakes were put on your knees, dude. That's how strong he was. Like, he'd like shake your hand and like he'd squeeze, and it was like, oh no, like, just let go, dude. He's the only guy I've ever heard that, I've heard it, I never saw it, that he could break a big league helmet in half.
No.
That's what I've heard.
Yes, I saw it.
You saw this?
We were in Detroit, and there's a couple different Rio stories of him snapping. So with the helmet, we're in Detroit, and he had made an out. And he came back to the dugout, and I'm supposed to be going on deck, and I'm kind of looking at him, and he's sitting on the bench, and he's got the helmet on both sides like this, and I'm kind of looking at him, and I know something crazy is about to happen, and mind you, I'm supposed to be getting ready for an at bat, so I'm still kind of looking at him, and he's fuming and goes snap and snaps the helmet right in half. I'm like, what in the heck? Like, he is so strong. Like, it's scary how strong he is.
A big league helmet, dude. Think about how hard that is.
Yeah, they have to go through all the safety testing. You're not supposed to do that. And this guy did it with just his hands.
They didn't go through the Rios test, though. They didn't test that one. Because nobody's supposed to be doing stupid stuff like that. Nobody should be crazy enough to do stuff like that. But Alex, he would snap, man, and it was funny.
You said that too, like, Vernon, where you're like, we're 80 games into this season and you have no idea where we're at. And like you said it with Fergrosi, baseball, right? Baseball is so different with so many different characters. Like in football, if you don't know what's going on, you're going to get hurt. Like, you're not going to play. But in baseball, the characters you run into, like, it's part of the beauty and also part of the frustration too, right? Because you got these freak athletes where you're like, how do you do this? Like Ricky was telling me, a guy just coming in throwing 100 for like nothing, and it's like, I don't even know what city we're in right now. Like, how do you do this as a guy who's like, I'm putting my work in, my preparation, and you just see a freak come by like that?
It's funny, it's frustrating, you're in awe sometimes, like all of it. Like, it's fun to watch. Like, I know you had Jose on last, and Batista was. I remember when he got to the Blue Jays, and he was still a journeyman at the time and trying to figure out who he was, but you knew he had some pop. You knew he had a great arm, and him trying to figure that part out. And I remember being in spring training in 2010, and kind of some early spring training at bats. And we would kind of talk about him, like, and he had the leg kick. I'm like, Jose, if you're going to do it, if you're going to have the leg kick, you need to get ready early. Like, I did get ready early. I was like, no. Even earlier, like, get that thing up there and just wait. So you can just slow everything down. And then all of a sudden he hits 50-something home runs in front of me, and he's pimping balls left and right. And I'm like, oh, man, now I'm going to get hit for you pimping balls. And if I told him one day, I was like, Jose, if I get hit because of what you do, you pimping balls, I'm going to hit you. So that's where we're going to be.
You never really got hit though, did you?
No, man, you knew me. I was trying to make friends with everybody. So, like, it didn't matter who you were. It didn't matter what language you spoke. If I was trying to make friends with you, like, we've faced a couple pitchers, like, over the course of my career there. I'm like, they don't know where the ball's going unless they're going to hit you. So my thing was like, I'm going to make sure I'm going to be friends with that person. So he may not speak the league English, but every time I see him, I'm going to say, what's up, man? How are you? Because I don't want to be the guy that gets hit when things go sideways. And it happened on a couple occasions. And it wasn't me the one that got hit. It was Eric Kinski that got hit. And Eric Kinsey got hit because he didn't want to befriend anybody. So I'm like, you got to be smarter than that.
What's it like, Vernon, stepping into the box where you know that there's a guy who has no clue where the ball's going?
Afraid for your life. I mean, it's pretty much what it is. Like, I'm drawing a blank on his name right now, but he was with the Orioles. He was like 6'8", 280, 290, like just strong as an ox. Who?
Danny Cabrera.
Yes, Danny Cabrera. Yeah, Danny Cabrera.
Oh, that guy.
So, yeah, he could be really good and he could really be really bad. Like if he was for some reason throwing strikes, he was nasty. Like he would throw 98 to 100. His curveball was like 88 to 90, but it looked like his fastball somehow, which I never knew was even possible. So one, I was afraid for my life because he could hit you at any point. And then two, I couldn't see his curveball. So I think I started off like 0 for 22, 0 for 23 against him. Just straight fear factor, most of it. So we were playing in Baltimore. We were playing in Baltimore one day, and I was hitting fourth. And so we adopted this as a team. We adopted this mantra that we were just going to go up to the plate and just have the statue approach. So we weren't going to take the bat off our shoulder unless, I mean, it was just, we were figuring he's going to throw 4 balls before he threw 3 strikes. So first guy goes up there, walks. Second guy goes up there, walks. Third guy walks. So I got bases loaded, no outs. So I'm like, all right, guess the statue approach is working. Sure enough, I get up there, first pitch ball, and I'm like, ooh, I see that. I'm kind of seeing that kind of well. Second pitch, ball. It's like, oof, I think I saw that one well too. Third pitch, ball. I'm thinking, man, I think I could square one up right here. It's 3-0. Still hadn't thrown a strike. So I look down at my third base coach and I get the green light. And apparently he wasn't on the same conversation with the statue approach. And for some reason, his thoughts align with my thoughts. I'm thinking, I got a chance. Meanwhile, I'm still 0 for like 20 against him at this point. But I was thinking, this is the one. This is the time. So 3-0 pitch is coming. Swing. Miss it by probably 3 inches. I'm like, what am I doing? Like, why did I swing at that ball? And I kind of looked at our dugout and they're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. 3-1 pitch. I'm still thinking like I'm seeing the ball well. I think this is it. 3-1 fastball. Miss it probably by another 6 inches. I'm like, why did I just swing the bat? I don't understand why I'm doing this. And look at the dugout again. They're like, what are you doing? I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I think I'm internally, I'm like, I'm seeing the ball well. Like, I got this, fellas. I got it. Trust me. 3-2, missed a sinker by a mile. And I'm walking back to the dugout and everybody's got their hands up. They're like, and I'm like, I don't know what happened. Like, I had an out of body experience and all of a sudden I'm walking back to the dugout and he probably threw 8 balls and I'm walking back to the dugout and struck out. So those are the stupid things that happen over the course of the season that you just can't explain sometimes.
Baseball.
Who was
It's a. What was that, Rick?
What did you say?
I said, who was the manager at the time?
I think it was Gibby. I think Gibby was there. And you know Gibby. Gibby's like, Gibby look at you like, dumbass. I'm like, yeah, you know, I was. But like, I remember it was one of the few times where like I never really had run-ins with teammates. It was like twice. And over the course of like a 13-year career, like there's only two teammates that you ever come close to fighting. 2 of them were on that team, I think, actually. So somebody said something sideways, and I was like, I probably deserved it, but it probably wasn't the right time. So we almost fought in the dugout. It was kind of awesome, but never happened. I'm not going to say their names, Ricky, but you may know who they are.
No, I don't even remember you. I wasn't there, so I was probably
yeah, you weren't there at that time.
I was getting my ass kicked in AA, so I wasn't watching many of your games.
It's one of those things where you come back to the dugout, somebody says something, and you're just like, I'm done.
Well, it was kind of like in the moment, everybody was kind of like, confused of what just took place as I was confused with what took place. The comment came like another couple innings after it, and kind of a snide comment from someone who already kind of had issues with it, just because of the way that they were. And I almost lost it, which I'm glad I didn't in retrospect. But it was close. It would have been.
Hey, that's not too bad though, Vernon, because for a 13-year career, only 2 little mini altercations for being a calm guy that you are. That's good. That's good. We'll give you credit for that.
I think so, man. Like even like fights with like when we'd have brawls with teams, like none of them really ever involved me, because like I told you, I'm friends with everybody, and I'm not going to be the one it's going to go down. But several times it happened when I was in the outfield. So being at Old Yankee Stadium, and Jesse Carlson hits Posada, and Posada just rages. Like he loses his crap. What'd you say?
He crossed home plate.
Yes. And it was the fight ended up in their dugout. Like Shelly Duncan was throwing haymakers just for no reason. And Carlson comes out of this thing with just this massive knot on his head from getting hit. Like it was huge. It was like, oh my gosh. But I remember running in, a brisk jog coming in from center field. And I remember just yelling at guys, just telling them, you guys need to grow up. And Teixeira looks at me and just starts dying laughing. And we cleared the benches with the Yankees a couple times. And both times, Kyle Farnsworth ends up next to me. I'm like, Kyle. And Kyle would kill you with his bare hands. I'm like, why are you standing next to me, man? Like he'd keep his glasses on, so he kind of looked nerdy at the time, but like the nerdy that would kill you in a heartbeat. But I just look at him like, oh, why are you standing by me again, man? And he's like, Vernon's fine. I'm like, you're damn right it is, because if you start going, I'm running. So those are some interesting times. And there's
because Farnsworth is the guy who does like martial arts, and he trains, and he's like looking for that.
Yeah.
But I caught him at the right times though. Like he was never on the mound when he had issues. So like I think he went to that place of like I could kill you when he stepped on the mound. Outside of that, and if he had his glasses on, he was cool. He was chill. So I like that Kyle Farnsworth.
Yeah, I remember that brawl too. I mean, like Vernon said, it ended up on their dugout all of a sudden because Posada crossed home plate, and Carlson he forearm shivered. Carlson weighed like 120 pounds, and so he drops his glove, and then they go, and so it's like all the Yankees, and then everyone's like running to try and save him, and crazy, and then CC Sabathia is grabbing everybody and just tossing bodies left and right, and he obviously likes to be in the middle of those things.
Yeah,
and I remember you obviously were there, Vernon, but David Percy, one of the quietest guys, really like, super nice, big teddy bear, and I remember he had Nick Swisher on the ground, and they were like wrestling each other. I was like, holy smoke! Mm-hmm. I never knew he had that in him. But it was definitely
don't cross the quiet people. Quiet people, you cross them, man, they come out and kill you in a heartbeat. So yeah, Percy's one of those people. He's big too. You gotta be careful with people, especially these days. Mixed martial arts, and you look at some little dude driving a freaking minivan, and he'd hem you up in a heartbeat, and you wouldn't even know what happened. So I don't mess with people, especially in Texas. You don't mess with people because of guns, or you don't mess with people because of mixed martial arts. So there you go.
In Texas, and Vernon, you have that football background. You even said it earlier, where it's like in football, you get to hit people with that attitude. You're like, you know what? You said it. There's a fight on the field, brisk jog. It's like, hey guys, what are we doing here? There's no need for that. Like, do you kind of when you know it's coming, you kind of just like, damn it, why?
Yeah. There's some times like, man, early on, like Tampa days, we're playing Tampa, and Carl Crawford. I don't even know if he got hit. He may have gotten close to being hit, but some things had gone on, and the South Houston came out in him. Like he was trying to kill somebody, and I'm holding Carl, and Carl had a really high pitched voice. So he was yelling in this high pitched voice, was still kind of weird on a baseball field. Like you kind of sound like you're pissed, but it's kind of weird that you're yelling in such a high pitched voice. So I'm just going to pick you up, and we're going to go calm down, Carl, so we can we'd collect our heads. Man, and I can't even repeat the stuff that he was saying because it was only you can only play those things on HBO and Showtime. So yeah. It was
it's funny you say that because I remember hitting him, and I mean the scouting report is pounding him in hard in, and I had developed a sinker, but my sinker still was like a work in progress, and I was like, screw it, I'm gonna sink him in, and I think I hit him twice, and not in the same game, but like overall during season. I think the second time he dropped his bat, and I thought he was charging, and I was like, whoa. And I saw him out that night, and I was like, hey man, like, did you really think I did that on purpose? And he's like you said in his high pitched voice, like, no man, that shit just hurt really bad.
Yeah. People don't know how bad it hurts to get hit. Like Reed Johnson wouldn't move. Like 97 coming at him, he'd take it. I'm like, there's something wrong with you. Like most normal people, like if something's coming at them, you move. Like that's your natural thought process. It's like, oh, something's coming at me. Freaking facing Tim Wakefield, he saw a knuckleball and it's coming at me. I'm moving. Like it's just natural. Like, why aren't you taking him? Like it's coming at me. So one time he actually did hit me with a knuckleball. I couldn't move because I didn't know where it was going. Like he would throw a knuckleball and sometimes it would go up, sometimes it would go left, it would go right. And I tried moving, but it found me. So I put my head down and I'm jogging at first base, and I get to first base and we're in Fenway Park. And I look up and he's standing right next to me, straight face. It's like, are you okay? I'm like, Tim, it was 65 mile an hour knuckleball. I'm going to be fine, man.
It's funny you bring that up because one of the cool things about you is like you had fun playing the game. You really did. And I remember like when you would face Mark Burley all the time, it was like, and he was the same, you know, he loved having fun and always laughing and you know, and trying to get you out. But I remember you guys were laughing and he'd get you out. And then I remember you hit a line drive almost at him and he's laughing at you like down the line and you're laughing. And it's just funny how you guys, you know, you guys played the game, and obviously two successful guys, like just you go out there and hey, whatever's going to happen, and we're just going to kind of have fun with it. And I thought that was like the first time I saw that, I was like, shit, I don't think I could ever do that. Like just smile at somebody for getting a hit off me.
Man, so Mark and I, like we faced each other a lot, and somehow I ended up hitting 500 against him for my career. So like I would walk up to the batter's box the first at bat of like each game. He'd be looking at me kind of just like, and sometimes he'd go take his glove off and look at me and just like shaking his head, and I'm like, well, here we go. And I'd get a hit off of him, and he'd start yelling at me halfway down the line, or take him deep and he'd start yelling at me again, like, or he'd get me out and he'd start talking trash. And I'm like, this is what baseball's all about. It's like, those are the things that people don't even get a chance to hear and be a part of, which hopefully we can do a better job as we get back into this game. And if we're going to be limiting fans, we need to film things differently. Like it needs to feel like people are on the field with them. We need to be able to hear things that are going on that you don't normally hear, because we need to draw fans in and get them more involved in the game.
I'm sorry about that, Ver. For both of you guys, you talk about something different, and like you guys are not that far removed from the game. What about miking up the players? They've done it in spring training. Would that work?
Yeah, it would work. It's going to take some censorship, or it's going to have to play on some other broadcast networks. But I mean, that's part of what this game needs. You can hear things in football, you can hear things in basketball at different times, depending on what broadcast it is. And baseball needs that. Especially, we need to get our fan base younger, or we're going to start losing some of the things that generates revenue in the game. You got to be able to evolve and keep that fan base continue going for the next however many years you get a chance to play this game.
And that's something that we get a lot on the podcast, Vernon. It's we started doing it last year, and it was just something where I told Ricky, like, look, I know how to do this. I know all the technical stuff. Rick, you got the connection, because I would hear stories from Ricky about what would happen in Toronto or his teammates. And I'm like, damn, even as a reporter, you don't hear that stuff. Like, because you're there doing your job, interviewing, hey, what happened on that pitch? And they think, who fucking cares about that? Like, those stories that you're telling right now, I think that's why our podcast is doing well and it's successful, because fans are hearing you in a different light. Where, like, I would have thought that, you and Mark Burley were having your own little games in between games, and like those are the stuff that I think fans really care about and engage about. Like, because everybody can break down the Rapsodo and the Trapsodo, with all these other sodas that are out there, but like, tell me about just having fun. I think we've gotten away from that too, where selling the game. Like, you have kids. Do your kids play baseball?
My younger one does, yeah.
Your younger one, but the other one's a stud football guy, right?
He plays football and basketball, and then my younger one plays all three. So, yeah, I mean, we need to make baseball sexy. I mean, that's kind of what it is. NFL does a great job with it. Basketball, we go to a basketball game, it's entertaining. Baseball is still kind of stuck to, well, this is the way we've always done it, and it's America's pastime. But America's pastime has gotten passed, so we need to continue to. We need to market our guys better. Like, Mike Trout should be like Jordan. Like, no matter where you go, you know what that face is. Like, that's who he is. Mookie Betts. Like, people should know who Mookie Betts is. Most people don't. If they saw him, they wouldn't know who Mookie Betts was. They wouldn't know that he can bowl at 300. They wouldn't know that he can run routes at an NFL level. That he can jump out of the gym. They wouldn't know these things because we don't do a good job of marketing our guys.
It's true. I agree with that. I agree. I totally agree with that. The game needs something to be spiced up, and having Mike Trout and Betts as the faces of baseball, like, everyone should know. I mean, you watched The Last Dance, and just all the stuff that Nike did for Michael Jordan to be this huge marketable guy. You're like, you know what? Like, this does belong in baseball, and a guy like Mike Trout, who is just, the face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's. I mean, that conversation can be had all the time, but like, it's the Vernon Wells experience right now. So, let me ask you quick little fire questions right now. Favorite place to play in?
Old Yankee Stadium.
Old Yankee Stadium. Worst pitcher to go up against?
He said it, I think.
Was it Cabrera?
Yeah, it was Cabrera for me. Yeah, Daniel Cabrera for sure.
Worst stadium to play in?
Oof, you're gonna do this to me.
Fenway's clubhouse, right? Fenway was terrible.
Fenway?
Yeah.
No, you said Fenway? I didn't mind Fenway. Fenway was horrible until they won a World Series, and then everybody was just happy as can be. Like, they were the most negative people I had ever been around in a baseball stadium. Like, sold out. As soon as they got knocked out of the playoffs, like, Nomar Garciaparra hitting 320 with 30 or whatever, and he gets booed as he's coming up to the plate. I'm like, these people suck. Then they win a World Series, and then everybody's freaking happy. I'm like, you guys. As far as playing there, I didn't mind playing there.
You want to know why the Fenway house wasn't bad for Vernon, Beto? Because he was a guy that had lockers to him. So that's why.
Oh, well then it's all right.
Stuck on one little one, he had the big one, extra space in it, so he was comfortable around in there.
Hey, sorry about it. It. That's your problem.
Exactly. Yeah. It took time to get that spot, though. I had to work my way to that spot. But that clubhouse sucked.
Yeah, it's terrible. It's terrible. Yeah, so it's just some of the things we do.
I want to ask you something really. You obviously went through a few All-Star games, but talk just a little bit about how it was walking WBC clubhouse, because you were part of that team that obviously, failed expectations, but the amount of stardom on that team was crazy. Like, you walk into that clubhouse, you're like, whoa, like, am I really suiting up next to Ken Griffey Jr.,
Yeah, I mean, I actually just pulled that jersey out when we were moving, and then kind of thinking about, and I saw a picture of the guys that were on that team. Yeah, it's Griffey, it's Jeter, it's A-Rod, it's Clemens, it's some of the young future stars of the game. Like, it was amazing to be on that team. Chipper was awesome. Like, some of the stories and stuff that would come out of his mouth, it's just like, I'm getting to sit in the clubhouse with these guys and play on the team with these guys. It's nuts. So, yeah, I think the expectation level changed after that, because we didn't know Like at that point, like I was ready, but I was young, so I'm like, I get a chance to play. I was getting ready early to be ready for the WBC. Veteran guys were like, well, I mean, we're ready. I mean, most of them, half of them were Hall of Famers, of the old guys that were on that going to be Hall of Famers anyway. So they're like, yeah, we got this, and they could flip a switch when they needed to flip a switch too. I remember us having them beat South Africa to make it to the playoff round, and then it was over with at that point. Like for the South African kid, whatever poor kid started that game, like I think we put up 12 runs in the first inning, and it was a slaughter. I felt so bad for a guy, but they had to say we had to win, but we ended up losing. I think Mexico. I think so. It is what it is.
Yeah, no, I mean, you look at that and you're just like, holy smokes, that the amount of stardom and superstars and, like you said, future Hall of Famers, it's crazy there, man.
Yeah, it was fun. It was. Think about the guys who were on the bench. I think it was Matt Holliday, Michael Young, myself. I was kind of in and out, and there's Jeff Rancourt, a couple of the young pitchers. It's just like this is awesome. And we're just sitting there kind of looking at each other. What the heck are we doing on the same field as these guys? Like, it didn't even make any sense.
Yeah, it's a different world, man. The sport of baseball has done great for you, Vernon. I know I saw a picture of some of the memorabilia you have, jerseys that you have. What are the non-baseball ones you've collected?
So David Beckham. So Beckham came to Toronto, and in Toronto, like, we didn't really care like who came into the clubhouse. Like, if you walk into our clubhouse and you were a member of the team or not a member of the team, there's no telling what could happen to you. So Beckham walked into our clubhouse, and we were all hitting our lockers with Nerf guns. So he turns the corner, and we just start spraying them with Nerf guns. Like, it was hilarious, and he loved it. Like, he just started dying laughing. Got a chance to meet him, and I mean, he's one of the cool ones, but I stuck more to my baseball guys. Like, football guys, I have a few too, but like Hank Aaron, I got him to sign jersey. Willie Mays, like some of the older guys that were special in this game, I was able to kind of, if there's ever opportunity where I heard one of those two are going to be around, I made sure I had a jersey ready just to say I had it and put that up.
That's cool.
My only regret from not being with the Giants in spring training, having Willie Mays there in the clubhouse every day, not getting a jersey signed by him, and I know his health isn't good, but I didn't want to be that guy to be like, walk up with a jersey and say, hey, sign my jersey, and so I was like, I'll just take a picture, so that's kind of.
Oh, you did get a picture with Willie Mays?
I do, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
I have it.
There it is.
And
Vernon Wells.
Muhammad Ali.
You got
that? I have Muhammad Ali's I have his boxing gloves. I met him when I was 12, and then I met him again. I saw him again with the Angels. He was in the clubhouse during spring training, but I met him when I was 12 for the first time, and he still kind of had everything functioning normally at that time. So I got a picture with him, and he's punching me in the picture. Like, those are some cool moments that have taken place.
How did you meet Muhammad Ali?
At a trade card show, like, because my dad was doing the upper deck checklist cards at the time. So at a card show, and Muhammad Ali's there. It's like, all right, let's do this.
When you mentioned the Nerf guns in the who were we just talking about? Doc. Somebody drew this picture or this sketch of Alex Andropoulos told the story about how you guys were playing Nerf guns one day, and Casey says he hit Doc like 2 or 3 times on the start day, and he was scared shitless of it.
Yeah, that's one thing you never did on a start day of Doc. One was talk to him. You didn't talk to him because he wouldn't see you anyways. Like, he'd walk right by you and not know you were there because he was focusing on one thing, and I was devouring whatever opponent he was facing. Yes. He was going to eat you, and you didn't want to stand in the way of that, or make a mistake on the field when he was pitching, because he'd look at you just like this death stare of like, I'm going to kill you if you make another mistake. So, but we didn't really have many opportunities to make mistakes because he would dominate everybody he faced.
That's it. So Jack Winery is Jack Winery. You guys are going to check it out online. The wine is available from Napa, Vernon Wells, Chris Iannetta. It's pretty cool. We see it. It's on delivery. It's getting to you people pretty soon. Go and check it out. It's a passion project for Vernon and Chris Iannetta out in Napa. So our next podcast with Vernon will be from the estates in Napa. We are taking the show on the road, and if Vernon's not there, we'll still do the podcast from Napa. In honor of you, Vernon, we'll let you know how your wine's doing, Merlot, all that other stuff. And if you guys see Ricky's wearing that hat from Westside Love, use the code Ricky-Row, Ricky-Row, and get you 15% off of Westside Love. You see the shirt behind me with got the Padre Brown, pretty cool. And also 101 Cider. Go and use the code Romero, and you'll get a discount from 101 Cider. And Vernon, thanks a lot for everything. Thanks for telling the maintenance guys not to knock down that wall during the middle of the podcast. We appreciate that. But Ricky, finish it up, man. The question we always ask.
Yeah, before we always like to end it like this, Vernon. Again, thank you for coming on. Being through everything you've been through, what advice would you give your old Vernon Wells? And I'm guessing your kids now, about sports and everything you went through.
Enjoy the moment. And when I talk to guys now, or young guys now, enjoy it, because in a blink of an eye, it's done. And then when you're out, you're out. Like, it's almost like it never even happened at points. So and enjoy living in the moment. Enjoy the good, the bads. Impact people, and make sure you impact the lives that you're around, because those are the things that are going to stand out the most. So for me, it's I told you before, I'm a believer. So being a believer means others above yourself, and it's a matter of spreading that. And as believers, we can all do a better job of it, because we're no better than the next person. But unfortunately, some of us who are believers like to push people away because they think they are better. We're not better. We believe in something different, and we got to love on people. Like, you love on people, you draw people in, you put a smile on people's faces. It's little things that we can do on a daily basis that will make this country and this world a better place.
And really quick on that, Beto, it's a story. It kind of relates to that a little bit. I remember I was at a coffee shop ordering coffee. We're at Dunkin' Donuts. Vernon was standing in line in front of me, and I don't know if you remember this story. I like walked up to order, and you're like, "Oh, go ahead, order it. I got you." And I order, and then you give the lady $100 bill, and she's like, looks at you like, $100 bill at Dunkin' Donuts, okay? And then you're like, yeah, go ahead. There's a line. Pay for everyone in this line. Is that something that about making somebody's day? Is that something that you normally would do, like on any other day? I mean, I saw it that day and I was like, that was so cool. Like, I thought that was like really cool. Like, all these people in their suits, like, getting ready for work, probably in a hurry. You just like pay for all their coffee, and who knows if the cashier kept it to herself or she actually.
Yeah. That was. I remember that. I remember that moment, and remember thinking, well, if that cashier needs it more than me and needs it more than them, then she needs that money. But if it has an opportunity to be somewhat of a blessing in the lives of the people behind me, awesome. Like, at that point, the money that I had was a blessing. So my job as being that blessing is to bless others. So in moments where I get pressed to do that, I do it, and whatever comes out of it comes out of it. But yeah, I remember that moment, because I kind of had that thought too. And I think we may have shared that thought of like, oh, she kept it. If she kept it, maybe she needed it, and that's where it was supposed to be.
Real cool moment. Those cool stories. It's always the stories that you hear on the Let's Go Ricky Roll podcast. Well, shout out to Stocky in Toronto who keeps listening every single time. Let us know what's going on. The Toronto Fire Department, Rick, actually sent me a message. They were watching us live on YouTube. So members of the Toronto Fire Department, appreciate you. We also have members in the Ricky Roll fan club in the UK, all over Canada, Texas. The people watching all over appreciate it. Vernon Wells, definitely have you back on. Hopefully we get to do it in person next time with you said you have some Merlot going right now, so I'll do Merlot. I'm normally a cab guy, but for you, Vernon, I'll go Merlot.
We'll have a taste test. We'll have a taste test in an hour of doing this. We'll all be hammered, and it'll be made people be paying for just to watch the reruns of us being drunk and talking.
I say we invite some of the wine team, have a podcast, and drink wine in the Wells estate. Boom, done. Play golf and drink wine and do podcasts.
Man, how about we do all that without the podcast? Let's just forget that. It's too much work. Vernon Wells, we appreciate you. Thanks to John McKelvey and everybody at Pro Angle for putting this together. Thanks to you watching it. And if you're listening to this on iTunes or Spotify, make sure you rate and review. And still got a couple more stickers left. Don't DM Ricky because he doesn't check them. Send them to me, Bethelvision or Grand Sports. I'll send you the Let's Go Ricky Roll stickers because Ricky can't check messages because he's got a 4-year-old and a 1-year-old and a puppy. So it's a lot of stuff going on his plate right now, people. So for Vernon Wells, Ricky Romero, thanks everybody watching the Let's Go Ricky Roll podcast.
Let's go.